All right, everybody. Thank you. It's great to be here with you all. As you heard from the voice of God, my name is Lucy Simpson. I lead customer success here at Dataiku. And as I mentioned, I'm super, super excited and honored to have 3 of our customers up here with me to do some real talk, right? Real talk about what their return on AI has been like with Dataiku, where they are on their journeys. So let's dive in. These things never give you enough time. So, and I know these folks have good stories. So let's get started with some quick intros. And Yusuf, let's actually kick it off with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your role at Genentech, and how long you've been a Dataiku customer.
Thank you so much, Lucy. I knew Dataiku since 2012. Florian was younger and he had more hair. I'm just re-quoting him because he said he had more hair this morning. Yeah, Youssef, applied mathematics engineer by training, French and Moroccan as well. I worked in retail before for 10 years at L'Oreal and then 3 years with Levi's. Today, I'm with Genentech since 2 years and a half, and I'm running the AI and data science team covering commercial, medical, and government affairs. So I have to trace the history with Dataiku because, like I said, really, we did an implementation at L'Oreal. It was early days. So you can count since maybe 2019 or something like that. But real implementation for me that I was part of at Levi's 5 years ago, and at Genentech, I think a little bit more than a year and a half. We started the journey, and we're at the stage where, basically we have a clear path, also with our internal partners to start scaling. Beyond just the data scientists and reaching out to broader community.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. I know we'll dig into it in a second. Samira, tell us a little bit about what you do at Western Digital.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Yusuf. I was wondering what your origin is, Moroccan and French, huh? This is Samira. I represent Western Digital here. So for those of you who do not know Western Digital, we are one of the leading data storage solutions or devices company in the world, both in the hard drive as well as solid-state NAND space. Within Western Digital, we have a corporate advanced analytics function reporting into the CIO. So our operating model is we do not come at any function, so we can swiftly move across different functional units and deliver business value through AI and data. So within that function, I lead the data science or AI ML. We've been a partner of Dataiku for almost 3 years. So it's been a great journey. Happy to be here.
Go ahead, David.
So that was really short compared to what I had planned. So I better cut some of mine out. So David Sedlock, I'm Chief Data Officer at Zayo Group. Most of you probably haven't heard of us, but a lot of you use us. We're the largest independent fiber provider in the United States. All the super aggregators, all the telcos, all the data centers are our customers. So we're seeing just the tsunami of demand around our services driven by AI in the multitude of 100 to 1,000x what it was a year or two ago because of the demand. And so how do we optimize on that? And I've been at Zayo a year and 3 or 4 months. And I kind of fell into being a Dataiku customer. In my previous life, I worked at AT&T, and I helped start the big data organization in 2013, same time that Dataiku started to be founded. And just a little quick snippet on that is because I was a COO and had background in startups, is I built a business case to go do that. And typically on the startup, you have to build out the platform capabilities. It takes you 2 to 4 years to go do that, and then you start talk about monetization. And I was given a target of $65 million of savings year 1 while I was doing all that. And I said no, our CEO said yes, and then I had to go do it. We hit $1 million or $100 million the first year doing that at AT&T, and then year 3 through 5, we delivered over $1 billion of direct savings approved by the board through a lot of different techniques. That's for a different time or a different story to do it. But with Zayo specifically, And I'm thankful that I stumbled upon and fell into Dataiku because some of the competing products that I used at AT&T, two of the primary competitors, were very difficult, very challenging, long implementation time, and couldn't get there fast. And that's exactly opposite with Dataiku. And one of the things that we talked about before was day 2 on the job, sitting in front of the board. I was in my board meeting, second day, and our chairman said, "What do you think about data?" And I looked at my boss and said, "Well, do you want me to tell the truth or you want to be nice?" And so just shrugged his shoulders. And I said, "I want either to get fired the second day or I'm going to be a little bit of a hero." And I just said, it's great that we're focusing on data, but that's not the issue. The issue is business transformation is the real issue. I can build a Ferrari, but if you put crude oil in it, it's not going to work. So we have to have standardized processes, business data ownership into standardized source systems, funneling the data and quality into the data platforms, into gold data sets, so then you can ultimately put all the AI and other capabilities on top of that. And so I initiated also a program called Data Quick Strikes, which we'll get into some real life examples. And that's looking, can we look at business problems very similar to talking about alignment to strategy. Ours was what was blocking the business to be successful. And so we'll get into some examples on that. But overall, is that with Dataiku so far, in my experience in a year and a half, is that very easy to stand up, can do stuff in hours and days, not weeks, months, or years with other competing products, and can add value very quickly.
Yeah, thank you for that, David. I think you definitely got into a little bit of that origin story at Zayo specifically, right? Day 2 on the job, CEO says yes, you say no, you figure it out at AT&T, and that's what brought you to Zayo, and you have the opportunity to do that now, right, with the trust that you've built with your executive team. I'm curious to hear from you, Samira. You know, you started with Dataiku from a bit of a different perspective, focusing on MLOps. So tell us a little bit more about that origin story, and really within that, how did you articulate the value that you were being asked to deliver with Dataiku back to the business?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Lucy. So the Dataiku journey started in Western Digital when we had a very strong need to use ML and AI at scale. So just step back a little bit. So Western Digital is a data storage solutions company, and at the core, we do everything from R&D to manufacturing, and we have a very complex footprint of high-end manufacturing facilities. So if you imagine, like a big company like that, like other companies, there are lots of smart people who know how to develop ML models, right? So it's possible to show, that this is the value that machine learning or an AI model can bring, but it's a whole nother game to bring it into production at scale. So I mentioned this during lunch to someone, and he found it funny, so I'm gonna share it. It's like a proof of concept of ML is like dating. Deployment is like being married. You know, you gotta think a lot of things, how to sustain it and how to integrate it and all these things. But back to Lucy, your question. So back in 2021, we were looking at how do we, basically deploy ML and have ML ops at an enterprise scale. And I won't mention a lot of names of others, but we went through a very thorough evaluation of 10 equivalent players in the market, Dataiku being one of them. And we involved a cross-functional team within Western Digital to really look at the full MLOps capability. Now, MLOps, that's a broad term. At that time, it was not XOps, like as it was told, is MLOps. So there is a level 0 MLOps, which is you can deploy a model, but then all the operational work is pretty manual, right? And a level 1, which is known very much in the application development space, is CI/CD, and the level 2 is CI/CD/CT, which CT stands for continuous training, right? So this was, why is that important? Because in a manufacturing, complex manufacturing process like semiconductor, where like it goes through thousands of complex steps, if you have a model, ML model that's making decisions, and if the model drifts and you don't detect it, or the data drifts and the model doesn't respond to it, you're calling for trouble, right? You could be having, millions of dollars of wastage or scrap, or you could be even, calling a quality incident, right? So this is the reason why we needed to have that observability around the ML model while it's in operation, have the capabilities like champion challenger models and things of that nature so that it can run smoothly in the operation scale. So this is where we started evaluating Dataiku as a platform, and happy to say it has been able to deliver millions of dollars of value both in the Flash and the HDD space as far as that MLOps capability. But some of the other things we looked at was like having that enterprise AI ML platform within the company for all the developers to work and really easily be able to share the work we do. Auto ML was a big thing that we looked at. That's something that I always believed in, like our data science headcount doesn't have to grow if we can. And anybody who's run an ML model knows that you don't get the first model, like the best model the first time. You got to iterate through it quickly. So AutoML was a great feature, and model explainability and things of that nature. So that's been like the ML ops piece of Dataiku. But one of the other things was mentioned today is the last mile problem, right? So when you talk about ML ops, it's deploying it in scale. Like we run into all these challenges in the last mile. Questions like how do you integrate a model to the manufacturing ecosystem and things of that nature. So one of the biggest values we've been able to deliver is that cut down that time from a proof of concept to running things at scale, right? And secondly, Dataiku has the ability, it comes in with inbuilt capability, but you can build your own solutions within Dataiku. So one thing we've done as a corporate central data analytics data science team is that deliver capabilities to the broader audience within the company using Dataiku as a delivery platform.
And how do you communicate those, right? How do you tell that story to those business stakeholders about those wins, right? And really, to use a term that we hear often, really evangelize, or more importantly, build that trust across stakeholders, right? That it is driving that impact.
Yeah, so I think this was mentioned, throughout the morning sessions, that's one of the advantages of going last. You can get a lot of points from the other speakers. So we do have a business process, we have an AI funnel, and there are lots of words or terms used like AI product managers, we call it analytics business partners, some industry call it AI translators. But bottom line is that what we do is, end of the day, Dataiku is a great tool, but it's only as good as what problems we use to solve,
and the data platform you put into it.
And the data you put into it, as rightly said, David, right? So what we do is we typically within the company as a central analytics organization, we cast a wide net and look for use cases, and then of course, there are not so high value use cases and high value use cases, but we really focus on mastering that value conversation with our stakeholders, identify at the front and forefront, hey, if we solve this problem, doesn't matter whether it's Dataiku, AI, ML, whatever the case may be, what is that value we are delivering to the business? So we always speak that language that the business understands, and then use Dataiku as a platform to deliver it, because end of the day, gone are the days, like when I started in this industry, if you had an ML model and showed those ROC curves on a PowerPoint, everybody was impressed, right? Now you go and show it to an executive, they're gonna ask, when can I have it in production, right? So you need to be able to have that agility and the predictability to say, okay, we've done it, but we can also deliver it at this time scale.
Yeah, makes sense. And now, Yusuf, I'm curious from your perspective, because you've been a customer of Dataiku's for a year and a half, about, right? And this is a global partnership, right? That we have. I'm curious to hear what that has been like, a little bit of that origin story, and how you're really encapsulating that value messaging back to all of your stakeholders.
Yeah, first of all, I'm gonna use this example of the ROC curve. Actually, I ask my team always, like, when can things go to production really early? Well, a lot of engineers from my team here and from our informatics business partners. Yeah, so when I joined, I remember my boss, was asking me about the strategy of, how should we run data science, and Of course, coming from retail and Levi's, I did not jump with pre-established models like copy paste and okay, you're gonna do this and that. So it took some time. So seeing what's going on, and then actually I was impressed, to be honest, like what has been established at Genentech. So the team was small but pretty strong. We had a couple of data analytics people as well, like really embedded in the business with good practice. But then when you look at the tooling, so there was like this polarity or dichotomy between people who are really coders and incentivized for that, and people who are embedded in the business, who are incentivized on supporting the growth of the business. But there are also analytics people, advanced analytics people. So how can you bring the two worlds together into one platform so you can basically improve and foster a culture of collaboration, because both are technical and probably both have gone through the same universities. But there was a missed opportunity that I experienced successfully at Levi's, at L'Oreal, and other organizations where we built hundreds of models in supply chain and e-commerce, and you have seen the benefit, plus 42% upside on e-com for Levi's men's bottoms. So yeah, that was no-brainer. So I wanted to bring a workbench for data science and analytics where everybody can collaborate without dismissing what data scientists can do in native solutions like AWS. Knowing DataIQ and other players, we have really great integration. So we have gone through an amazing evaluation, really, really deep, deeper than our colleagues in global, because I actually accidentally discovered that Roche was also exploring DataIQ, but we have gone really, really deep in our evaluation, like 70 databases. Every database has probably 7 data use cases. So it was like really almost 70 use cases. So our colleagues in informatics here helped us do the evaluation. It was really, really deep. At the end, every single indicator was green for us compared to other players in the market. And one of the most important ones for me, to be honest, is how can we also bring this human-centric experience versus going to, let's say, SageMaker Studio. They are also playing catch-up, it's great. But it's still very intimidating, to be honest, like for entry-level data scientists or data analysts. So what I needed to do with the team is really bring something that has that experience while bringing the AutoML, collaboration, the versioning, and keeping up on updating the portfolio and the ML models as an asset. So that was the motivation. So we really succeeded, and we had, I would say, one condition, and that was also the condition from my leadership, is we're sure you're gonna manage the implementation technically, but actually make sure you double down on education and training, and make sure you have premium services when it comes to that with DataIQ. So we made it super clear, and we had that support, and we managed to bring small cohort. Second one, now we are working towards a scale at the global level, and we are working actually with the global colleagues in Basel because Genentech, belongs to Roche.
Very cool. Now, I do want to dig in a little bit deeper on operationalizing value conversations. And I want to go to you, David, because I think you definitely brought, as you mentioned, a lot of that experience from AT&T and previous lives, if you will, into Zayo. And it has been a really cool thing for us to see as a partner. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that framework.
Yeah, I appreciate you asking that one. This one I'm excited about. So one thing that I didn't mention around Zayo, it's a 15-year-old company. The founder, a guy named Dan Caruso, had 49 acquisitions across 15 years to pull together this company. He did every single thing out of a single application. I've talked to a couple of people that is a company that we use, and we just completely ruined it, right? So we don't have separation of different duties and source systems. So when I came in, I knew this. The good thing is I knew this coming in, and as I mentioned to you, and why I brought the AT&T example, is what my takeaway from that is, as you're building or creating a data platform and all the capabilities that we're talking about here today, you also have to look at business engagement, business transformation to support clean data going in, but you also have to deliver value and return, and the sooner you can do that, the more effective you're going to be. So as I alluded to earlier, I initiated what's called data quick strikes, and the idea on this is we use Dataiku as the platform to do this, and we were looking at what is blocking our success in our business. We were absent of visibility in a lot of things because we had, in the product that we have, the single one we had 66 open text fields. And those are the ones that ran our business in every dimension. Horrible design. I don't know who did it, but at any rate, it's horrible. So we were looking at more around what are the blockers of our success in our business. So I created this small team utilizing Dataiku. And in 2013, we delivered 11 data quick strikes, generated over $17.3 million of direct savings to our company. And what it allowed me to do, and I'll give a couple examples, is when I'd have to go every month before the board and explain what we're doing on the data foundation capabilities, aligning up with the business, and I'd always start up with the money and how much I saved the company. So it gave me a lot of leeway and flexibility of doing the right things. It may take a little longer, but I'm still delivering value. So a few examples we brought up. We built a predictive churn model that directly saved Zayo $7.3 million in 2023. The second one we did was we knew we were provisioning services, fiber circuits, into our large customers, but we knew we weren't billing for everything. So we had a revenue assurance initiative that we claimed $4 million of benefit. It was actually 12, but I settled for 4 just so I wouldn't have to argue about it. Now, the other two are really intriguing because they're not direct savings, but one of the biggest challenges in our business, in the telecom business, and we're a wholesale provider to large, very influential companies, is SLAs against the orders that people give us. So if they say they want 100 fiber strands, then they expect it. These are, top 5 companies on the planet. They expect it to be delivered, but we're missing our SLAs with it. So what we did is create a crawling technology through Dataiku to create a predictive model, and we had a service delivery predictability model that at the time of signing an agreement, we could predict at an 83% accuracy level that we were going to hit or miss the SLA based upon this disparate data in open text fields. And so that allowed us to work right up front instead of waiting for that to happen 60 days in line, we can do it day 0. So dramatic change in the business. And the one I didn't mention to you before, which I thought about sitting down, is we call it financial early warning. So in smaller companies, we're a multi-billion-dollar company, but it's not small, but it's not big, is, how do you present your results? We had to do it every month again to our board of directors and external agencies. And we were having challenges on a timely close because we did everything in a single system, so it's difficult to go do it. So we worked directly with our CFO, a guy named Jeff Noto, and what we built is a early warning system on financials. So we were getting post 10-day results, and day minus 15, the 15th of the month before the close, we've gotten to a 90% accuracy rate of predicting where we're going to land with our monthly financials on 15 days before the month close. And it keeps getting closer and closer, and now they're going to adopt that and result that directly to our board. So those are things that we're doing with Dataiku, with data, as we're building these foundational capabilities, and then that will allow us to extend into not just AI, but generative AI with some of our strategic partners. So I knew it was important that we had to deliver value while we're building the core capabilities, gave us a lot more flexibility, and the board stopped telling me to give them updates around the core stuff. They just said, stop doing it, keep doing it, let me know if it's a problem. So that's a great place to be.
Great way to buy trust, right? We spoke a little bit about this idea of parallel pathing, right? On the one hand, you need to be able to show those quick wins with data strikes in your case, but then that really earns you the right and the trust to do more of the foundational transformational work that you know is going to be a little bit longer. Now, as I suspected, we are running short on time, and so I do have to ask this question because it is 2024, and we've only said Gen AI 7,000 times today, but Yusuf, I'm gonna go to you. I'm curious, as you think about the next 12 months for your team, your organization, how are you thinking about Gen AI use cases, prioritizing those use cases, weighing the risk and the cost considerations, but ultimately the potential impact back to the business?
Yeah, thanks for this question. I think I spoke during the month of Feb to our executive office, and the topic was generative AI. So what is next, right? So how can we get our use cases? So the idea was like, let's break down our roadmap basically and do like some sorting. What is Gen AI and what is not Gen AI? And basically, what is not Gen AI, we can basically solve with classic AI, and we have a lot of tools for that, and DataIQ is pretty mature for that. But what is Gen AI, we have to be super clear about where the wins are, and it doesn't have necessarily to do with like dream big, start small. I would say start big, because it's changing every day, and you don't have time actually to dream. So what I like about the LLM mesh within DataIQ is you get the problems, I get the benefit, because I'm not a software company. So what I have to deal with is to meet with my compliance, data privacy, to solve things like, hey, like which user has access to which data and which insights, and issues around how can we make people bite into Gen AI? Like what is level of integrations we have, education, to which extent we are demystifying Gen AI. So users who are actually beyond data scientists and data analytics can use LLMs to chat with a database, for example. And those things usually are not necessarily software or agents related. They are really change management, compliance. So I have to de-risk that area, but you deal with all the stuff. So what I find exciting, I think, for the upcoming 12 to 18 months, I always like to do 6 months, 9 months, 12, and 18, is that what I see the different integrations that are coming, and we actually have LLM mesh, and some of our analysts are already experimenting with it, is that putting our roadmap together and make sure that that roadmap is evolving with your software and product roadmap. I give you an example. We have a lot of use cases with our medical ops around, the medical letters. And they have like hundreds and thousands of them. Every letter is like 20 pages. I don't have to go and build a software for that, although we do build applications on top of our architecture. How can we quickly spin up a model and use, for example, DataIQ Explorer to do that? And these things are we have in our roadmap. So there are really a lot of quick wins, I would say, that are not necessarily small, not necessarily easy technically, but hopefully with the roadmap and what I'm seeing coming with the mesh, it creates this, what I call the Gen AI operating system that will allow us actually to run our business with exactly how your iPhone is running the OS. You don't care about how complex the OS is, but what you experience and you take advantage of is the simplicity of the iPhone. And that's exactly what we are trying to do, getting updates as we go and having the support needed for that.
Very cool. You're dreaming big.
Dream big. Actually, I don't have time to dream. Like it's moving too fast. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you for
Perfect.
sharing that. Now, I do. We'll end to take a couple of questions from the audience, but Samira, if you will, I'll end with you. I'm curious. We have, as we've heard, both data and business leaders and practitioners certainly in the room, what's one piece of practical advice that you would share with everybody as they are thinking about how they're going to tell the story of the return on AI for their business?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I think my message would be to keep it simple. So I'll end with a real quick story. So this great inventor, Michael Faraday, when he invented the electric motor, he went to the British Prime Minister at the time. He took his apparatus and he did a live demo with these magnets and the rotating motor and whatnot. And the Prime Minister looked at it, he's obviously very disinterested. And his questions was, what is in it for me? And the great inventor, Michael Faraday, without missing a beat, said, one day you can earn tax dollars from this, tax pounds from it. And he got the Prime Minister's approval. So it's not just the executives. I understand who your audience is, simplify the message, focus on the value, whether it's AI or Gen AI, the technology will keep evolving. If we simplify the message, I think we can get that buy-in and the transformation that's necessary.
Very cool. Oh, I knew it.
Yeah, because there is one person in the room, I really love that, partnership. It doesn't take just data scientists. My colleague Geraldine, who is here, she's my peer. And she's actually running the oncology business at Genentech. And I just saw like the evolution of the embracement of data IQ. Like within her team, she has a bunch of data analysts, but she's running business also. So her understanding of the business is higher than mine. But actually, she's the advocate. I don't have to talk about data IQ anymore. So because that partnership and simplification, and I think, you correct me, Geraldine, if I'm wrong, but we got there only when the messaging started being simpler and simpler and simpler. So I think that's very, very important because not everyone surrounding you is an MLOps engineer. So that's very, very important. And thank you so much, Geraldine, for your support, for what you do for data scientists and also for data IQ community at Genentech. So that's very important.
I love a shout out. Go for it, Dave.
I had to say one thing on this. So one of the things I did both at AT&T and Zayo is, as technologists, you don't have a typical pathway of value. That's not typical, right? You have to be very purposeful around it, number one. Number two is you have to focus on the true decision makers, okay? And most everybody would immediately say it's the senior leader of the business units where you have to convince them. They're not actually the true decision makers. The true decision makers are the business unit CFOs that run and control the division based upon what is committed to the business plan. And if you can go to those business unit CFOs, or if in a smaller company a CFO, and said, what gaps do we need to close in our budget? Where do they align in our business plans? What can I do to help close those gaps? And can you help me prioritize that with our business unit leaders so everybody's on the same page? And that, to me, was a really critical thread. My historical experience, I always flipped and focused to the business unit CFO or the CFO directly, because they're the ones that are really making the final decision on what is prioritized and funded.
I think that may be why the panel starts with money talks, right? Thank you all for that. Yeah, go ahead, give them a round of applause. Thank you. Thank you all truly for sharing your stories and your insights. I did promise a couple of questions for the audience. We are running a bit behind. So, right there, you were quick. Let's go to you. We'll do one, and then we'll close out. I will say this group will be around, so feel free to find them if you have a couple more questions or want to go deeper in conversation with each of them.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was a great panel. For all the successful Data IQ customers, outside of kind of chatbots and NLP, I was curious if there were any success stories in the insight generation life cycle for Gen AI. So that was my question.
Yusuf.
Sorry.
Closer.
Yeah. This is a directional mic, right? Like, if you talk like this, yeah, it's a directional.
Yeah, it has to be close.
Some skills in used to sing before, and I'm just kidding. So a lot of success. So here is the thing. So just before getting DataIQ, we started building our own applications, right? Matter of fact, we have an app for LLMs called DeepSense. So very cool. And the underlying architecture of that, I think one of the architects is here, by the way, Ashish, hi, is in AWS. But I think, again, because of the integrations, I think we're going to run out maybe of the, let's say, the libraries, and I can just go and buy all the foundation models, possible out there. So that's what's like, okay, you get the technical problems, I get the benefit. I like the all-in-one kind of thing, or all you can eat, you know what I mean? Like the like $10 buffet. So yeah, go to a place where all the models are, and you can basically use that operating system, and if it's DataIQ, then perfect. So I don't care how my app looks like, or on top of what, basically underlying environment it sits, as far as the brain is modular and feeding that in a way that creates that. So I think success stories, yeah, include like, medical people in USMA, US Medical Affairs. We started doing a lot of insight generation. This morning I mentioned a lot of work around voice of the customer, because we have like thousands and thousands of surveys. We have also use cases coming around audio. So what exploring things around, what packages or libraries can help us process almost like 40,000 or 50,000 recordings a month. So these are, it's not gonna take me 10 years. It's gonna take me probably weeks or months, to process. Why? Just because I don't have to build the models myself. So probably the time is gonna be more spent on how can I get all the data in a good spot, clean. And that's something that I really liked about DataIQ, is the evolution of, okay, I can plug to any data assets you have. And that's also another thing we have in the roadmap, by the way, is like expanding probably beyond the scope of the commercial we had, and start plugging to more than just one data lake. So yeah, definitely a lot of success with the generative AI use cases that I see flowing into DataIQ because of the Explorer. So I think users can, just have their own apps, basically, to be honest. So
yeah, I'll just add one quick thing to answer the question. This is not limited to DataIQ, but the question was what GenAI use cases outside chatbots. Did I understand correctly? So a couple of things. Code generation, of course, not the common languages. In the hardware industry, there are a lot of machine-level languages that are used. So using pre-trained LLMs or foundational model to generate code from languages written that the LLM hasn't seen before, that's a big use case. I think the life sciences presentation you must have seen, drug discovery is a big deal in the health sciences space. Apply that to the semiconductor space. Material discovery and hardware design with GenAI is a pretty big use case. That's going to be a game changer. If you're interested, read into IBM Deep Search. That's a great product. And also Microsoft published a research last year called MetaGen, with generating material with GenAI. So these are some of the areas that at Western Digital we are exploring.
Very cool. Well, thank you all again. I will say we have a really almost a monthly drop, I think, if not more often at this point, of success stories on dataiku.com. And definitely, if not, find us downstairs and we'll talk through a couple of more real life use case success stories. With that, thank you all. One big round of applause again for our panelists, everybody.